Well, hello and welcome to The Spirit Safe. My name's Rob. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. It's about New Year's Eve, 2020, moving into 2021. I'm sure you've heard enough about how difficult 2020's been. This, memes going around of a dumpster fire and everything. And I don't think anyone could have predicted at the start of this year just how different life would be. Plenty of people will be talking about about everything that's happened. I don't want to dwell on it too long, but I leave 2020 actually, personally, counting my blessings. I've got wonderful family and friends around me, or in some cases not around me, because they're a long way away. And it has been difficult not being able to visit people and to spend the time with them, but I've had excellent support. I personally don't know anybody who's died of this of COVID-19 so far. Thank goodness for that. So I feel like I've had a relatively easy time of it personally. So I shouldn't be too glum about the situation. I hope that all of the subscribers to the channel, everyone else in the whiskey community, is also keeping it together. Yes, it's been tough, but I haven't had to fight in a war like other previous generations did. So as we move into 2021 with a bit of a spring in our step, the hope that things will turn a corner early into next year, if we dare hope that much. I just wanted to talk a bit about what we've done during 2024 reviews and what the plans are for 2021. So one of the things I wanted to finish early in 2020 was the Johnnie Walker walkthrough. The Johnnie Walker Blue was the last one on that list, so I reviewed that relatively early in the year, and I did promise some unusual countries for 2020, which I did a lot of. So we'll get to that shortly. I said I was going to be doing some unusual distilleries. I did one or two, but I really fell down on a couple of things. I said I would do some compass box bottlings, and I did 0 compass box bottlings during 2020. I wanted to do some available whiskies, in particular Monkey Shoulder. I did one or two available ones, like, for example, what's it called now? Singleton of Dufftown. But I haven't done many, and I want to do more of that next year. And I said that I was going to do some old favourites, distilleries that I've had in the past before I had the channel, and then never got round to reviewing a bottle from them. So things like Dalwhinnie, Talisker, Benromach, and I did none of that either. But what I did do, I reduced the frequency of the videos to 2 per month, and that frequency sort of works for me with my other interests and the other things that I want to do, my responsibilities, and make sure that we keep the quality relatively okay in terms of the reviews. So I think I'll continue that into 2021. What I did do throughout 2020 was I basically alternated. And I did this for almost the whole year. I would have a Scotch one review, and then I'd have a world whiskey the next. And I did quite a few unusual countries. Now, I've built now a core of 4 countries. So Scotland, Ireland, the USA, and Canada. And I'll always be buying whiskey from those 4 countries. Note, I'm not including Japan in that. Now, I would have done so at the outset of this, but I've fallen out of love with Japanese whiskey. I haven't reviewed one for now, I think, 2 years. Not to say that I never will again, but it's no longer a core country for me because of the way that they have treated the consumers of Japanese whiskey. And the qualification is the wrong word. Just the lack of any provenance, and the way the prices have been going. I think it now offers poor value for money, and I'm just not. There's nothing on the shelf that I want enough to pay the prices that they're asking for. So Japanese we're having a bit of a rest from, and that's probably going to be the case throughout 2021 as well. So on the unusual country side for world whiskey, I reviewed whiskey from Belgium, Finland, South Africa, Israel, Wales, Denmark, and Germany. So those are really not the countries you generally associate with whiskey production. I think it's good to represent some of those countries in those smaller distilleries, the smaller producing regions. So I'm glad I did a little bit of that. And throughout the history of the channel, I've now reviewed whiskies from 19 countries, which I think, I won't say it's a record, but I think for somebody based in Canada, that's relatively good, going. I've reviewed now bottles from 79 Scottish malt distilleries. I will get to 80 in the new year, I'm sure. I'd like the milestone was 75, where I did my first Macallan on the channel. Unusual distilleries reviewed last year: Balmenich, Kininvie, Blair Athol, and Inchgour. So you don't see many reviews of those things. I like to keep it weird and wonderful. Always liking to go off the beaten track a little bit. So for 2021, if I get to the UK, or somebody from the UK gets to me within 2021, I'd like to do a few more unusual countries. I'll keep it to the core countries, Scotland, Ireland, US and Canada. But if I'm able to get bottles out of the UK, I have some really unusual countries. So we can add 1 or 2 bottles from very strange countries. I would like to do a Taiwanese whiskey, a Kavalan. And it's odd that I've gone this far without doing a Taiwanese whiskey, but I have one open. It was a celebration bottle, and I think I've earned it. So I opened the Kavalan, and I will review that during 2021. I do want to sort of refocus the channel a little bit from being a personal challenge to myself to try whiskies from 90 distilleries or from 20 countries, whatever. Focus it a little bit more on the consumer, because I feel it's getting harder and harder to be a consumer particularly in the Scotch or Japanese whiskey market, because the prices are going up. The choice is bewildering, the amount of information. Sometimes it's too much, sometimes it's too little. And I'm sort of wanting to go a little bit off the beaten track, do some things that are not modish, not the latest Macallan release or the latest Ardbeg release. Things that are a little bit under the radar, but things that probably offer a bit of promise, and are price, worth the price, deliver a good bang for buck. I'd like to expose a few of those whiskies or regions. So that's what I'm most wanting to do. I would like to go back and do some of the distilleries that I have missed from my quest, like the Dalwhinnies and Taliskers and Benromachs. But generally, I'd like the majority of what I review in 2021 to be affordable to the average consumer and something that I'm looking forward to trying myself rather than just ticking off all of these boxes. That said, I would like to get to 85 distilleries by the end of next year. But one thing won't change, and that is that I buy all of the whiskey with my own money. I only review it after I've tried it a few times, and it's always an absolute minimum of 20 cl that I will review, and I have to have tried it 3 or 4 different times and made my notes on it at different times. The reason I do that is I personally do not trust the very much the reviews where people get a little 5 cl or 3 cl sample, pour it into the glass, drink it, and tell me, yeah, spend $200 on this bottle. I personally couldn't do that, and many times I'm finding myself changing my mind about the whiskey that I bought. Every whiskey that I review, I pay my own money for it, and I keep it open for weeks, if not months, and record how it changes in the bottle, because it does change. The first sip is never the same as the last. So I like to take my time with the reviews, and no freebies, no connection with the industry. I'm just a guy. So all of the reviews are completely independent, and that won't change during 2021 either. Was that about all I wanted to say? Yeah, I would probably want to do multiples of certain distilleries that I enjoy. So I started doing a Glengoyne vertical last year. Didn't do a Glengoyne this year, but I'll pick it up. I did the 10 and the 12, and I'd like to do the 18 and 21 during the course of 2021. And I'd like to get involved in a bit more of the Springbank, Glenfarclas, things like that. So a real mix of very available stuff, more rare things, weird, wacky, wonderful things as well. So hopefully it will be informative for the regular consumer, and then interesting for the malt head as well. That's my aim. Anyway, I don't really have a pick of 2020 because I didn't really go out there looking for the absolute best whiskey. You know, I set myself a challenge of alternating between Scotch and world whiskies and getting all of those unusual things reviewed and filling in some gaps as well. So I don't think it would be fair to say I have a pick of last year. And also I like the picks to be affordable and available, and I didn't do very much of that. So I just want to mention two that I personally enjoyed reviewing a lot. I'm not saying pay secondary market prices for these, but of the ones that I reviewed, these were the reviews that I enjoyed doing the most. First one is the 8.1 Octoball, and the second is the Macallan Edition 4 in this lovely green packaging. So that's it. Let's draw a line under 2020, shall we? Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the reviews throughout the year, and look forward to seeing you again next year. Cheers. Goodbye.